Oh, welcome to the Big Sister, the Living Room podcast. I'm so excited, finally.
Can't believe we're here.
I know, after so long. In
for
Singapore.
Yourself, it's like, I feel like for yourself would be like longer because it was like something birthed for a long time now.
In my heart, I think yes, but like, we literally got the word on the same day, so.
That's true.
It's the same. I didn't know.
Tell you that story with the share about that story as well. That was insane.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're finally here, Big Sister.
Woo!
Our fake microphone.
Yay!
It was really a mirror. Yeah. But it's just so crazy. I just feel like, wow, like we're in Singapore now.
Mm-hmm.
We've known each other for how many years now?
About 7.
That's crazy.
2018 we started college, right?
Yeah. We started Bible college together.
Shout out to Planet Shakers College.
Mm-hmm. Shout out.
It brought us together, and we're doing this now, so...
Yeah, it's crazy in a different country.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to share, like, my heart for Big Sister, the whole Big Sister, not just the podcast, but, you know, doing the makeup workshops and all that.
Yeah.
Like, literally, at the end of 2023, end of 2023, I got a word from God. I was just praying for the year.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, God, what are the words for the year? And one of the things that he gave me was the word big sister. And he said to me, you're going to be a big sister to people around you. And I thought it was just like the youths or whatever. And so I was like, okay, cool. In this year coming ahead, I'm going to do that. And another word that he gave me was also confidence as well. Yeah. And so as the year started, I had actually already done one makeup workshop in Cambodia. And in that makeup workshop, it was like so chill. We were sitting on the floor, on like this cold, hard floor in Cambodia, and I was just teaching the girls. And then, like I was like, okay, I think this is what God wants me to do with Big Sister. As the new year came and I was praying, God, what's the word that you want me to call this makeup workshop thingy to minister to women? And he said, I already gave you the word for the year, and that's Big Sister. And so... like, literally my heart is just to be that godly big sister that, you know, many people haven't had in their life. Yeah.
That's true, actually. Like, not everyone has not only just a physical big sister in a sense, but there's a spiritual aspect as well, you know, as those who are journeying for the first time. And it's kind of like, there's so many questions that sometimes there's this expectation to know all of it straight off. But, like, ultimately it is a journey, and I think for someone to come alongside, whether it's like, how do I pray, or like how do I even hear the voice of God? And I think I actually struggle with that a lot. Or even it's like, oh, what is worship? How do I even worship? And I think sometimes there's this underlying expectation where it's like, oh, I can't really ask these questions, or who do I even ask these questions to? Like, maybe I should just know. You know, like instantly we just like say the sinner's prayer and we get saved, and we're like, oh, we just no. But it's like, no, we don't. Like, everything's a journey. Like, if life is about, you know, the journey itself to like learn something, how much more is it with like Christianity when it is coming to know Jesus for the first time? And the Bible says like that is spiritual infancy, right? And as a baby, like, you have to be fed milk from a bottle, and someone prepares it for you.
Exactly. What's crazy, I just thought we're both big sisters.
I was
like actual
like physically.
Shout out to my sister Sarah.
And my two sisters, Rachel and Rosie. What's your age gap?
Yours are all R names.
Yeah. What's
Rachel and Rosie?
Oh, R-N-S. R-S-T.
Rachel and Rosie? Yours?
Yeah, Rachel and Rosie.
And Regina. Oh, yeah, my mom said R and then S, like in the alphabet.
Nice. Anyways. So if you had like another sister, it would be, or like,
like
S-T.
I guess. I don't know. My sister is 3 years younger than me.
Same.
Oh,
so Rachel is 3 years younger, and then after that, Rosie is also 3 years younger from Rachel. So it's like a 3-3-3.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. It was like.
So you're the oldest.
I am the oldest. Yes.
Nice.
That's right. Responsibilities. First one, responsibility.
I know. Yeah. I mean, did you always like being a big sister?
That's a good question. I think I liked it in a sense where there's this sort of like responsibility I carried in like the good way, but when it came to like the not so good stuff where it's like, oh, like, you know, your sister does something, you get like, you take the blame for it. Or there's this like weight of expectation because you're the oldest.
I think I liked I like being in charge, you know, and making the decisions. Like, you make the rules.
Girl boss.
Yeah, girl boss. And I'm like, yeah, that's the rule, don't you know? But what I didn't like, I felt like I was always the guinea pig.
Fair, right? Yes, because you're the first.
Yeah, and then like my parents would always like, I would go through all the strict parentness, and then by the time it was my sister, they're like, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that was us with like sleepovers. Oh, so I never was able to go to sleepovers or maybe like parties until like maybe high school or something. But then I went coming to my sister, like especially the youngest one, we were just kind of like, oh, you can do whatever. And I'd be like, why did she get to do it? And then like, you know,
they tested it out on us,
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, why were you drawn to Big Sister? Because obviously I did like start it in like Cambodia and I've just been trying to start it the whole last year, 2024. But like what drew you to Big Sister, to me, and to just like your heart for like even starting this podcast? Like tell me.
I think number one is like the Lord. I think sometimes like, you know, doing something when he hasn't called you to, there's always this like friction. And I've found that to be true, where it's like, okay, I want to go somewhere, but it's almost like you're really wrestling hard because it's the grace and the slipstream of that is not on it. But I would say, you know, because we obviously knew each other before, and I even got to see you before you went to Cambodia, but like not intentionally. Remember at so I was meant to come to your missionaries end of time party.
Oh yeah,
like
I met you at church. Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah,
that
like,
was literally the day before I left.
I was a bit like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I didn't come to your party, but hey, we got to meet anyway.
I was like, girl, don't worry. Don't worry.
Yeah, we got to meet, and then it's like I've low-key followed. When I say low-key, it's more like, okay, it's there, but it's not intentionally like following it. But whenever I saw like the logo and just your branding, I'm like, I love pink. Like I've always loved pink. Like that's my favorite. So when I was younger, like my sister and I, because we were so close in age, like we would always have the same thing but different colors. Mine was pink and hers was purple. And it was always like that. It was so funny. Anyways, I digress. So I'd say I was low-key always following it and like kind of like, oh, that's so cool, like living out the missionary life. And I think just the name of it itself was probably what initially drew me to it. Or was like, what was God? God was highlighting Big Sister. I think one, it was relatable because like I am a big sister physically, and then I was also youth leading as well. So I think as a female in ministry, obviously that you tendency is that you would look after the females of the youth. And then so I think just something about the name has always kind of struck a chord in me that I'm like, okay, God's highlighting something, but I guess it wasn't time to kind of like reveal too much more after that. Fast forward, so December 2024, so I was here in Numa SG, just like, you know, serving the Lord, whatever he said last, and then you just walked into the service.
Yeah, that was so crazy.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So context, basically, my sister goes to the church in Australia, and she's like, oh, they just planted one in Singapore. And so she's like, let's go. And I was like, okay, sure.
Yeah, you're like, okay. Let's go.
I literally walked in and I looked. And I was like, Regina? And my sister didn't, I think my sister didn't really know. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, Regina, it's Regina. And she's like, what?
What are you talking about?
She's like, Regina. You're like,
yeah, that was actually so insane because it's like I think at that time I didn't know that you were still in Singapore because I know that you did come back to visit from your stories, but I also knew that maybe you would be in Cambodia or even Taiwan. I think
exactly.
Taiwan.
Exactly.
And then you were back, and then I was like, oh my gosh, and then low-key I was kind of thinking like, oh my gosh, I haven't really contacted you in so long, so I felt like who am I to like, you know, say anything, but look at us now. So
look at us
look at us
now.
So then we caught up in December. I think that same week that we met, we were like, you know, we should catch up. And I think sometimes when you haven't really caught up with someone in a long time, or like low-key feel guilty that, oh, maybe I should have reached out a bit more throughout the 7 years, for example, like us. I think one of the thoughts I was wrestling with is like, oh, well, what's the harm in just meeting up and catching up? And like, you know what, if there is like a tension from not like speaking and it's like an awkwardness. Like, you know what? It's fine. Let's just go for it.
I never even thought that you would have that thought.
Or yeah, I don't know. My mind sometimes.
Like, I was, like, I not once had that ever cross my mind, like, at all. So good. Yeah.
Praise the Lord.
It's like, yeah. And I didn't even realize it'd been 7 years.
Yeah.
It feels like college was, like, last year, but
literally, yeah. So that was that. And then, I think when we met up, we were at KFC for lunch.
Oh, yeah.
And then we moved to Starbucks because it was like, I think you were wanting coffee. And then I think from there we were just chatting, kind of like catching up over like the past 7 years, what God's been doing in our lives and why we've ended up in Singapore and whatnot, all the life stories. And I remembered like before we stepped into Starbucks, right, because you're like ordering, and I was just like, the word podcast came to mind, and I was like, okay, like that's definitely for you because I don't see myself doing a podcast. So then I was like, okay, before we were like wrapping up our conversation, I was like, I just feel like to encourage you that maybe it's something that you're, thinking about, but I just feel the word podcast over you. And then you literally said the same thing.
Yeah, I looked at it because, like, that's really weird because I thought you only had, like, gotten that word, like, at the moment you released it to me. Because I got that word, like, literally, actually, at around the same time. Because the moment I got the drinks and we about to sit down, that's when the word podcast came to my mind. Which is, like, the point I was ordering drinks, right? So that's really weird because God really was speaking to us. He was like, listen to this now. And he was like, why aren't both of them saying anything?
I'm like, hey, it was just like there and you're kind of like, should I say, should I not say, should I say?
It was literally like 2 hours after, I reckon, after we, like,
talked for so long.
Yeah, and I literally also had the same thing as well. The word podcast came to my mind and I was like, oh, that's for her for sure. I'm not doing a podcast. Like, yeah. And I was, so when we started talking about it, and then all these thoughts started coming to my head, though, like, who's gonna listen to me and Regina? I don't think, like, I wasn't thinking, like, looking down on you, but I was looking down on myself. I was like, who's gonna listen to me? Like, what do I have to say? Yeah. But I think the more and the more I think about it and the more I speak to other people about Big Sister, actually, I realize I do have a lot that the Lord's put on my heart. And God's really made me passionate about, being a voice for women. But not only that, just being a godly, like, figure to encourage and build confidence in women. Like, I think in the world, there's obviously right now, the big thing is feminism, right? And it's just so thwarted by the world. It's crazy. There's, like, all the rough topics, And it's wild. It started good, but it's turned out now to be something that's, like, hating men and, like, just changing the whole, like, meaning of feminism. But I think it's so needed still that we have a godly voice that encourages women to still stand up, not stand up to, like, aggressively, like, hate or whatever, but stand up to be who God's really made us to be and created us to be. And I think that's really important. And my heart literally cries when I see women who are just so afraid and, like, they're just not confident in themselves. I think in Cambodia, like, something that really struck my heart was when I would see the culture of, because it still is a very traditional culture where it's like the men rule everything, right? And women can't do anything. And so my heart would just break whenever I would hear just stories of, like, the families and how, like, even in their jobs or sport and stuff, that they are looked down upon. And my heart just breaks for that. And I just encourage them. So that's really my heart.
That's really good. Yeah, I'd say alongside that one, like, what God was kind of stirring in my heart for, kind of like putting the pieces for Big Sister was that, we do have, like, everyone has a story to share, like, from upbringing to, like, experiences in, like, school, especially high school, where, like, identity is really being shaped. For sure. And whether, like, you had a good group of friends around you or, like, a not good group of friends around you. It's, like, that all kind of start to pave a way as to how you are going to turn out to be. And I think what's really important is, to have the truth that we center ourselves on, and hence the truth. So I feel like that is where the heart of Big Sister is as well, where it's okay, we're centered on the word, and that means that anything that is not aligned with the word, it must be aligned, you know. So whether it's like voices that we hear, or even voices from friends, or even family, I think sometimes as well, like family's words, whether intentionally or unintentionally, can really cut deep too. And I think
and those words are repeated over the years just set upon you.
Very true. And then you start to like pull these words towards yourself as your identity. And I feel like Big Sister is here to kind of shine light on truth in what God is saying,
exposing lies. I think that is so true and important, especially when things have been said over you again and again. Sometimes you just start to believe it even though you didn't believe it at the start, or you just start to absorb it. And I just feel like it's so important for us to just shed truth and light on that, like even just small things about like our appearances.
Oh my god, I have so many stories about all that.
Oh my goodness. Exactly. It's just like, and even in real life, like when I see girls, I'm just like, you know what, like don't say that about yourself. I can tell when, you can tell like when it's just someone's just like, oh, like I don't think I'm good at this or something like that. That's just so sad, and I just want to like cut off those lies.
That's so good.
I
think words is probably something that we want to highlight as well in Big Sister. It's like the words that you say over yourself or over someone else is actually so powerful. And like you were saying before as well, it's like the thoughts that continuously feed yourself will actually start to become your new truth,
your new
because
truth.
Of how much you are listening to it.
And I mean, well, at church we just went through Nehemiah, right? And how they were building the wall, and then there was enemies coming against them and saying all these things about
naysayers.
The naysayers. That word is just so funny, but it's like exactly what it is. Like, you're a naysayer. Well, that's just been ringing through my head in the past few months, because I just feel like it's always just going to be like that. It's going to always be Tobiases and Sanballats where they come and they just keep saying over and over again. And the devil uses like the technique of like repetition and just trying to say the same things over and over again. But then Nehemiah, he was like, no, we have to have the swords in one hand and the building tools in one hand. Continue building the work while, like cutting off those lies. Like you cannot let those lies come in the way. And I mean, that's been for me like what God's been saying to me, but I think that's also like encouragement to whoever's watching as well, that whatever is said upon you, like just cut off those lies, like do not listen to it and continue building what God's called you to do.
That's so good. And it's a continuous thing. It's not like, oh, let's put down our sword while we build, but it's like a hand-in-hand motion, right? And
it's to be aware as well. I'm aware that
that's good.
I'm aware that these voices are not the truth.
I think that's really key, awareness. I think sometimes we allow things to slip in because we're not aware. And underlyingly, like, if it starts to form as like our foundation, like we don't even know, and we're like building things on top of that, but it's like it's not even solid.
It's not even true.
Ground.
Christ is our first
I love that song.
Rock bottom. Oh, so true.
When you hit rock bottom, Jesus will show you that he's the rock at the bottom.
Amen.
Oh my gosh, life.
Okay, Regina, I want to ask you some questions to get to know you.
Okay.
Rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
As rapid as my brain works.
Oh my god.
Okay, I'm just making these up. Okay, favorite makeup product? Can be real specific or just like general?
I really love my NARS foundation.
I'm wearing it now.
Oh, that's so good. I just feel like the color combination, like the color range is so like so nice, especially for Asian skin tone.
The ethnic undertones.
I feel it too. So good.
Yellow.
It is a bit pricey though. So I'm trying to find a dupe. Sorry, NARS, but like, you know, once I get way I can like splurge on the things that really matter in life. Foundation. Literally. Foundation.
My foundation.
It's the base. You can't do, like, if you do a makeup look and then don't have a foundation, I'm so sorry, but you cannot.
Preach, sister.
You cannot. Like, you have to start with the foundation.
You have to start with that. I agree. I've been seeing those things, those reels where it's like, oh, you're complaining that your foundation isn't flawless, but you're using, like, the tiniest bit of concealer.
Yes. We cannot substitute for foundation.
Amen. Amen, sister.
Has to be Jesus. Has to.
Christ is my fair foundation. Okay. What is your go-to like comfort movie?
Oh man, I was talking to my sister about this the other day. So I'm usually one to like quote a lot of movies. Like movies live rent free in my head. Like
I feel annoying when I go to someone's house and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this movie.
I'm literally just quoting and I'm like watching the scene in my head. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I love this. But my favorite all time is probably A Cinderella Story with Hilary Duff.
No way.
And Chad Michael Murray. Is that his name?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I don't know why I was thinking... No, his name in the movie is Austin.
Austin.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you was like, yeah. I don't want to go there, but yeah.
Do you feel like Cinderella?
I think because, like, I've grown up loving Disney, and I love the idea of a fairy tale kind of thing. And maybe, like, deep down, I've always wanted to be a princess, but now I'm, like, God's princess. So, it works out.
Well, I always wondered, like, how did they disguise themselves when they're just wearing a tiny mask? Right? I was like, that's obviously her. You're so dumb.
But it shows thinking about it, because I've never been to a masquerade party before.
Okay, neither.
But I've always wanted to, though. Okay. But I feel like because we are the outsiders watching in and we know everything that's happening, but for them to actually be there, like, do we actually
You go to school every day and you see these people. How do you not know that's just a person with a mask? Like, that's obviously...
I don't know. Maybe
that's obviously Regina from English. Like, that's Tom from Maths.
Good point. Maybe we need to go to a masquerade party and then we're going to, like, test
Let's have a big sister masquerade party.
How cute!
Yeah. I bet you'd be able to tell someone from, like... And the voice.
Yes.
How can you not tell?
Yes. But the thing I'm not defending Austin names or whatever, it is like blindness, but like, I would say maybe because he didn't even know she existed. You know, that whole like,
weird
popularity and like not popular.
Cyber safety.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
Texting on the Nokia. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. They're like the flip phone. I remember those.
Yeah.
And it's like LOL.
Yeah, I do. Okay, last rapid fire question. Yeah. Our questions are not rapid fire, so we talk about it for like 2 minutes. Okay.
I actually liked his vibe,
so we did makeup, femme foundation, movie.
Yes.
Okay. What is like a drink that you love? Like give us your order. Like, is it bubble tea? Is it Starbucks? Like, what's your order? You know.
I think since being in SG, it's probably been like a teh peng or something. But I mean, on the underlying thing, it's probably like milk tea in general.
Milk tea, okay.
Yeah, there's like tea, so it's like the teh peng. So it's iced tea, essentially. For those who don't know what peng means. Yeah. Depending who's watching. Yeah, but yeah, it's that one. Like bubble tea with pearls or like tea in general. I just love the teh tarik kind of. Teh
tarik, yeah, okay, got it.
Good, yeah.
Oh, like the other day chagi, you like that?
Not bad. It's a very subtle flavor.
Yeah, it's subtle.
Okay, yeah.
Expensive too.
Yeah.
So thank God we don't love it that much.
Yeah.
I know. Don't want to be addicted to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like all the hype though. But
yeah, I know. I've seen people lining up
so many times.
Okay, give me some rapid fire questions.
Okay, oh my gosh. If there's one quote to live by, what would that quote be for your life?
Okay.
The rock bottom. I'm just kidding.
Well, okay, when I was in high school, actually, there was this one quote that really stood out to me, and it was, don't be influenced, be the influence.
Ooh, I love that.
Or is it be the influence, not in the influenced? Yeah. Be the influence, not be influenced.
Oh, yes. Yes, thank you.
And I think that really helped me in high school because it's like high school is so like, you know, you just copy all your friends. Even, I don't know about your school, but in our school, like the way you hold your books is even like a thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Or like the type of school shoes you had, like
oh my gosh, school shoes. Oh my gosh, it had to be the T-bars. If you wore the laces, you were like,
you're like ugly.
Yeah,
and even with the school uniform, we would alter our school uniform.
Yeah, so like how short your skirt was like determine like, how cool you were.
Exactly. Yeah. So and even our socks as well.
Oh my gosh, yeah. If you wore like navy blue or you wore
did you guys do the globe socks?
I don't know if we went that far. Maybe like the popular up there was a bit more, but I'd say the white or the navy. It's like usually people who have like white socks would be the Maybe it is that branded one, actually. I don't know.
It would be cooler, is it?
Cooler, yeah.
Oh, I was like opposites, like black socks. Cool.
Oh.
Anyways, basically, like, yeah, in high school, it's just so much, like, you're, like, influenced by everyone else, what they're wearing, what they're, everything, right? And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to stay firm in what I believe, so even, like, about being Christian and going to church. I'm not going to let them say, like, ew, you go to church, it's so cringe. Like, I would never, I would be like, no, I do go to church. You want to come? You want to come to youth? Yeah. So, I mean, that for me in high school was really, like, strong. I think now, a quote to live by. Okay, well, now, a verse that's really been speaking to me is Galatians 6, verse 9. And it's like, do not give up, because in due season you will reap a harvest. Wait, sorry. You will reap in due season. You will reap a harvest if you do not give up. Yeah, and so that's for me. I mean, like, you know, going through hard stuff. It just reminded me, like, don't give up. Like, in due season, at the right time, it'll happen, and there will be a harvest. Like, your hard work will not be
put to shame.
Bleh.
Yeah.
It will not be bleh put to shame. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so that's my quote to live by.
I love that.
To not give up and know that God's timing is always right.
Yeah. Okay. Another question. Eyeshadow or lip gloss?
Oh! Okay, now I'm into the lip gloss.
Okay,
I think you asked me, like, a few years ago, I'd say eyeshadow for sure, but now lip gloss, girl, more Fenty today.
Yes, I love that. Gonna show you lip combo later. Okay, last question. Yeah. If you could have one meal for the rest of your life, what meal would it be?
Girl, that's a good question.
Gotta reveal it.
This is, like, so horrible, but probably Subway.
No, what do you mean? How's that horrible? At least it's healthy.
Because that's so cringy. Like, it's like, ew, you like Subway. Like, there's so many beautiful foods in the world, and I choose Subway.
But it's like comfort food, because you love sandwiches.
Yeah, I think growing up in Australia, I didn't know how much it influenced me growing up in Australia, but because I ate a sandwich every single day in high school, I think I'm a sandwich girl now.
Wow, mine's the opposite. I had sandwiches all the time, and I hate it now.
Okay, got it. Because, like, I mean, when I was in Australia, I was like, ew, sandwiches. Like, I'm sick of this. Went to Asia for 1 year, and I'm like, girl, all I want is a sandwich.
Oh, wow.
All I want is a sandwich, and honestly, every day.
Oh, my. Wow, we're, like, polar opposites of that. Like, give me, like, a curry mee for, like, lunch or something.
Okay, wait till you've been here for 1 year, and then you're going to be like, I miss a sandwich.
That's a good point. Actually, I probably will. Subway, yes. If I count that as a sandwich, it's more like it's like a fancier sandwich.
Subway, I think it's like a fast food sandwich. It's a fancy sandwich.
I mean, because like the bread is so nice.
Fancy sandwich is like panini.
Oh, I love panini.
Me too. That's why all sandwiches, I could have that whole...
Fair.
Yeah.
What filling would you get in your sandwich if you could?
Anything.
Oh, really? Anything?
Okay. Anything but chicken.
No way.
Chicken's so basic.
I love chicken ever.
Okay, I like that too.
Like, flavor.
I guess I like that too. With Ava, it's fine, but if not, I just feel chicken so dry.
Fair. Yeah. They have to do it well, though. They have to give you, like, maybe a thigh instead of a breast. Because they're just so dry. You can't eat that, like, overnight, bro.
Salami to go all the way.
Okay. I don't really like salami.
What?
I don't know. If it was, like, a cheese platter, I would probably go for the prosciutto instead.
Oh, I love
instead of salami.
See, that's what I miss. Cheese platter. Try. I love charcuterie. Anyways. I do.
Okay, yeah. Well, would you like to share your heartful podcast and I guess like what topics you would love to cover?
Yes, podcast. Okay, what I do want to share is what I have noticed in just women in general and just like friendships and stuff growing up is that women always have this subtle competition. Yeah. And we were mentioning that as we were praying before this podcast. There's always this competition. Do you feel it?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I think I feel it. I feel like, no, I feel it. I was going to say I feel it more in Australia, but no, I feel it everywhere. Yeah. Australia, Cambodia, even Taiwan, here. Yeah. All the places I've been to. And I think especially when you're a woman who dresses up, does her makeup, and you're looking good, looking nice, it's easy for other women to be like, oh my gosh, like that's my enemy now. Like I gotta compete with her.
Yeah.
Whether it might just be like, oh, compete with her for the boys, or just in like internal thing that's like, oh, like she's prettier than me.
Like
career, status, everything. It's not just looks, but I think the looks is like the first thing that tips it over.
Yeah. The first thing you see.
You see. And I realized that because I'm always someone who loves to do makeup and like just dress up, and like I honestly just do it because I'm just a creative person and I love doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I always realized like all the girls have this thing against me like the first time meeting, and
because of the makeup.
Yeah, you can tell, and the looks and the way they respond to you.
Yeah.
And I think usually after talking to them for like the rest of the night or whatever, then they end up saying like, oh, you're actually a really nice person, you were really intimidating at the start, and actually I was comparing myself to you. And like that's what I just want to cut off and just like end that whole thing of women competing with women. Whether it might be for boys or for themselves internally, but instead build a culture where it's like women supporting women, and this is our community. Like, you look so amazing today, and you do, Regina. You look so amazing today, and it's like, I'm so like happy for you for where you are in your life. I'm not competing with you. You are you are Regina, I am Ruth, and like I really just want to cut off that competition, that lie of competition.
And comparison.
Yeah. And that mindset to have that we're always competing with other women. And instead, like, literally be spreading kindness.
And like genuine kindness.
Yeah,
not
genuine
like,
kindness.
You know, like low-key, like, okay, I'll be kind to you so that I can feel good about myself. But
Exactly.
it's just like, it's about the other person. Like, how do I make you feel good? You know?
And whenever I see people like wanting to compete, it's not that I'm like, oh, like, why is she competing with me? I actually genuinely feel like, oh, I want to be her friend. I really hope that she gets this mindset out because I want to be her friend, and like we could be besties, you know? And most of the time, like by the end, it's like, okay, we are like really good friends at the end. But then I know there are like one or two that always leave and they're like, oh, they don't like you or whatever. So I just want to cut off that competition, and the whole thing of Big Sister is that I want to create this community where we all come together, when we do makeup together, and know that it's like, I'm teaching you because I'm not gatekeeping anything. I just want you to be like happy too, and like be confident in yourself. And so that is my heart for Big Sister. Eradicate competition, women supporting women, knowing your identity, like who God's created you to be. Like a creation can never know what it's created to be unless it's told by the creator.
I love that.
And just to be confident in who we are. So that's just my heart for Big Sister.
That. So good. And in terms of topics, a little sneak peek, do you have any other topics that's on your heart for the next coming podcast?
I think what it is to be a woman, I think in this day and age that gets confused. Fun stuff too, makeup hacks and just whatever, like just women stuff. Also just confidence, beauty. We're going to be talking about beauty today. Girl, whatever the Lord leads. What have you got on your heart?
I feel that it would be really nice to share like stories, maybe from like maybe our high school times, you know, how that was like for yourself, even though we both studied in Australia, but like, you know, I think school wise can be very different, especially with the kind of school kids that was there as well. And I think essentially like focus a lot on like high school and like identity building as well, and kind of like cutting off any lies that would have like kind of tried to come in. That's probably one. I think relationships is very important as well.
Absolutely.
Like how to have relationships with like the same gender and like friends, and really build from a genuine place. So because I've had my fair share of like, you know, whether it's like high school bullying or like comparison, and then it's like not being enough to like fit in with a group, and it's like maybe a topic could be like, oh, how do we even find ourselves to like fit in with people, you know, but to not lose ourselves in the process, but stay true to ourselves. And it could even be like, you know, boyfriend relationship as well, marriage,
absolutely,
how to stay pure when like nowadays like to attract people is like show everything kind of thing. Literally. So I think we really interesting to kind of talk about that. And of course, if you guys have topics as well, send them through, and then we can also talk about that too, because I think I mean, our heart is to help you guys, so whatever you feel like is relevant to you, no matter how personal or how vague it could be, we can talk about that.
I would love to hear your ministry stories and your faith stories about, you know, what have you had faith. I mean, guys, they don't know us. I mean, some do, but honestly, I feel like we are women of faith, both of us, and we just do things that we're like, okay, let me step out on the waters and faith.
Let us be uncomfortable.
Exactly, and I want to hear your stories on that too, and I have a couple of stories to share as well. Oh my gosh,
yes, I have. Yeah, we have to. Like, just story time. We call it like story time.
Yeah. So I'm excited for that. So you guys tune in for that.
That'll be really great.
Well, today I really wanted to talk about beauty. Yeah. Because I mean that's what Big Sister is, right? The whole we're doing makeup workshops and all, but we're talking about beauty and identity. And yeah, I just wanted to ask you, like, what is beauty to you? Like, when you think of beauty, I don't know, tell me. What is beauty?
I think when I was younger, initially, like, you know, still immature, still growing, a bit insecure. Yeah. Beauty was always like, oh, how someone looks. But I think as I've grown up, I was like, you know what? Like, looks are really, like, fleeting. Like, really, like, they fade so quickly. And actually, it's all about, like, the heart and, like, the character and, like, the fruit that you bear in your life that gives off a certain taste. Like, is a fruit nice or is it like rotten? So I'm sure we've all had like a grape that's like so nice and juicy, and we've had grapes that's like on the way to being a sultana. Like, you know, it's like sour and like squishy, and you're like, I don't really want to keep eating this. So, you know, because I love grapes, so I'm always like eating grapes, and whenever I like pick one that's like not so good, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even want to like try for another one, just in case, what if they're all like that, you know?
You're right.
And so I think it's like, as I'm on this journey of maturing with the Lord, I definitely see more like the character and like what kind of fruit and taste you leave off for people. So it's kind of like, okay, if I'm interacting with you, do I give off like, oh my gosh, kindness? Do I give off gentleness, love?
What lingers behind?
Yeah. So I think it's all that, because, you know, sometimes you can talk with someone and it's like how they speak or how they carry themselves in the atmosphere. It's like, it's either uplifting or it's kind of like, I don't know if I want to keep hanging out. But I mean, everyone's a journey, like, you know, on their journey. So it's not to say that there's anything wrong, but it's just to be aware of that, those kind of things. So I'd say it's that.
Because I think there's I'm sure we can all think, I mean, as horrible as this is, but we can all think of someone who, when you first saw them, you're like, whoa, she's really pretty. Or like a guy even, oh, they're really good looking. But then you like talk to them and you're like, wow, you're not all that.
Yeah.
Because of like the persona they have, or just like their insecurity like just coming out. Yeah. And I think that's all the difference between a beautiful person and like someone who's just pretty or just good looking.
Very true. Yeah. How about yourself? What's your definition of beauty?
You know, because I feel like in church they're always like, oh, it's just your character, I don't think that's true. And that's obviously why I do makeup and like I dress nicely and stuff. But I think it's both. It's like shining inside out, because I think like there's just some people, like, okay, like example, like some celebrities that it's like they're not really that good looking, but because you like watch them on like TV or like how their character is, suddenly they're just really good looking, right? And I think that is like, it's like suddenly their eyes just shining more or whatever. And I think it does come hand in hand. I think God has made beauty a real thing, like outer appearance, and I think that's important as well, because like the Bible describes, this is really interesting, the Bible describes Sarah as really beautiful, and it's not just beautiful in Abraham's eyes, because I don't know if you know the story, but Abraham like hides Sarah from the Egyptians, and says, like, this is my sister, because he's like, I'm scared because she's so pretty, they're gonna kill me to get my wife, and then true enough, they like captured her and they were like, oh, we want her as my wife because she's so beautiful. So I think it's like a genuine thing, like beauty is a thing from God as well, and God makes things beautiful, how he dresses the lilies, you know the song, He dresses the lilies
that was Maverick City.
With beauty and splendor. Obviously, it's not from Maverick City, but it's from the Bible.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I mean, the song is from
Matthew 6. I know, because I'm like, this song.
Okay.
Yeah. It's from, like, Matthew 6. Yeah, but it's like, beauty is an outward thing as well. But it's like, we want that beauty that comes from inside out.
Yeah. Shining from inside out. But not to neglect the outside. Because, you know, it's important for hygiene and to, like...
Yeah. I think it's a nice thing to be like, to reflect God is to reflect beauty as well. To be like, you know, like, well presented and nicely.
It's a way to, like, take care of yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, you wouldn't neglect something that you see as precious.
Yeah.
So I'd say, it's a bit of both, but of course, more on the inward to then shine outward.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think the thing is, okay, this sounds really superficial, but like, if someone is pretty, but their inside's not pretty, equals ugly.
Yeah. I'd say.
If someone is outward not so pretty, plus inside very pretty, equals pretty.
Pretty, yeah.
Right, like beautiful. Yeah. So that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like the inside definitely weighs more.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the inside is what comes out in terms of speech.
Exactly.
Mindset.
Yeah.
You know, because...
And how you treat other people.
Yeah, very true, very true.
How you view other people.
Yeah.
How you view yourself. I think that's even important, how you view yourself. Because how you view yourself is how you're going to treat other people as well.
And it projects out, right?
Yeah, and how you're going to speak about yourself. That's or how you're going to bring the atmosphere. You know that person that's always like, oh, I suck. And then you're just like having to like say nice things about them all the time. And it's like the atmosphere is just not like a confident and joyful atmosphere. And I think that does change things as well.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to share a verse from 1 Peter 3, I think. Yeah. Let me get it up. 1 Peter 3. Okay. So it's talking about wives, but then also it's like women as well in general. Okay, so okay, I'll just read the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of long, but in the same way, you wives must accept the authority of your husbands. Then even if some refuse to obey the good news, your godly lives will speak to them without any words. They will be won over by observing your pure and reverent lives. Don't be concerned about the outward beauty of fancy hairstyles or expensive jewelry or beautiful clothes. You should clothe yourselves instead with the beauty that comes from within, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is so precious to God.
Wow.
This is how the holy women of the old made themselves beautiful. They put their trust in God and accepted the authority of their husbands. For instance, Sarah obeyed her husband Abraham and called him her master. You are her daughters when you do what is right, without fear of what your husband might do. Yeah. And it's obviously talking about wives. Yeah. So, like, that's in the context of wives. But I think as, well, you're married, I'm not married. As single women, we can also take some stuff out of this as well. Like, even if you don't have a husband, but of, like, how they carry themselves, not being concerned. Yeah. With all the yeah. And I know I'm into it. I'm into doing all that, but it's like, what's at the forefront of your mind?
Yeah. And it's like, why do you do all that as well? You know, is it to show yourself off as something, or is it because you really genuinely enjoy it? Which I'd say we both do.
Yeah. And I think what's really interesting is that at the end of it, on verse 6, it says that verse 5, it says they put their trust in God. Like how, like, beauty, or how is beauty equivalent to putting your trust in God?
Like, really interesting. That's part of it.
Right? Yeah. And it's part of it as well. Like, putting your trust in God is beautiful as well, because you're not concerned about, oh, I look so bad today. Like, oh, like, people are not going to like me. People are going to think about this about me. Yeah. But no, because I trust in God, that God's made me who I am, that I'm not concerned about all these things. Yeah. And I'm confident.
Definitely. I think it also brings about a security.
Yes.
As well. You're not like tossed to and fro in a sense of like, oh, am I like this today? And your confidence is not based on like what kind of day you're having. Because it's underlying this trust in the Lord, the foundation. We need the foundation first. So I definitely say it's very real for a married woman, I'd say, and then like, you know, your perspective as a single woman as well.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't know. What else do you think about?
I think one thing that came to mind is like, you know, the whole inner beauty and whatnot. There's this thing where in Proverbs it was saying that it's better to be alone in an attic than with a quarrelsome wife. Have you heard that verse?
Like yes.
Oh no way! Yeah. That verse like convicted me so much. I think not to say like, you know. Yeah. If you're in a space where there's quarrels, whatnot, I think conflict really helps to strengthen a relationship. But I think this verse is more so talking about like if you are one to not know how to watch your mouth, or like you aren't even kind or gentle in your responses, but you just want to just lash out, you know, like that is a projection of what's on the inside. Hence we're talking about like the inner beauty part. So as much as you can like glam up and have like the jewelry, the hairdo and all that, but if like one, your speech and like how you talk to your husband, for example, or even your friends, and you kind of like claim as like, oh, that's just me. No, it's not you. And there is so much more to that than just settling with like, oh, well, this can't change. I'm not going to change it. I'm not going to be bothered changing it. So I'd say like, the inner beauty is would outweigh the outer beauty because of just, like I said, the fruit that you are allowing other people to taste from your life. But that verse definitely convicted me. I was like, oh, you know, it's making me do those heart checks. I'm like, am I that quarrelsome wife? Do I just want to quarrel?
Yikes. Wait, I have to check something.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. If you're enjoying the podcast so far, we just want to encourage you to give this YouTube channel a subscribe. We would really appreciate the support. And also head to our Instagram, bigsister_global, so you can be in connection with everything that's happening there, with reels, self-confidence, how to grow in the Lord, and your identity, as well as just like beauty tips from the professional Ruth here. So definitely go check it out, and we'll see you guys in the next section of the podcast.
Okay, I have a question for you, Regina.
Yes.
Okay, so when the Bible talks about quiet spirit, gentle spirit, what do you think about that? Because, you know, like in the past with history, it's like trying to silence women and be like, you have to be quiet and gentle. But like, and then some people say the Bible's like misogynistic and all that. Like, what do you feel when you see this and understand about it?
Yeah, I think from my understanding now, I would say the gentleness probably comes from a space of not like, even if you were to bring up a problem, which then leads to a conflict, but it's not for you to like fight in a way of like, I'm going to keep speaking until like I have my point across, and I'm going to like keep hammering at this. And I think one thing I learned from marriage, so it's like, this is obviously like it's talking to an opposite gender that is wired so differently to women, in terms of even thought patterns. So sometimes I'll be talking to my husband and be like saying all these things, and it's like one word response. I'm like, that's it? Like, is there more that you have to share? Or even like when it comes to conflict kind of thing. But it's like about having a mindset to understand and then come in with like a gentle spirit, like a gentle response. But that doesn't mean like flaky or like, oh, I'll just like submit, even though the Bible does say submit to your husband, right? But I think it's coming in with more like, hey, you know, I noticed this, like, how about we pray about this, and then how about we come at it together? And it's kind of like having this gentle response. Is one verse in Proverbs I love so much and has ministered to me in our relationship, where it's like, a harsh answer stirs up wrath, but a gentle answer kind of like stops conflict. So it's like,
I was literally going to say that verse.
I love that verse.
Wait, is nice. It a gentle, I don't know, different versions, but a gentle answer turns away wrath.
That one. And it's like, for me, it spoke to me in a way where when you like, okay, so ultimately we can only control ourselves. You can't control someone else. You can't control their responses. You can't control how they react. But even if someone were to react in a certain way. Obviously, it might not sit well with you, but I think that gentleness comes with a self-control as well, where it's like, okay, I'm going to choose to not act out in the same way that I'm not going to serve something that you have served to me. I'm going to choose to answer gently. Yeah. And as long as I know that I'm good and I'm not trying to like stir up anything, then it's more so on yourself to check yourself. Because it's like
balls in your court.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'd say with that, the gentleness comes from that aspect. And quiet, I think it's also in the perspective of you don't have to be like shouting or loud, because sometimes like you're talking to someone, you might get a bit heated, and you go into like a shouting kind of mode. It's like, it's just noise. You're not really effectively communicating either. True. So then it's to go back to the intention of like, why are we doing this in the first place? And why are we conversing right now? Is it just to now just attack each other, or is it to actually find a solution and move forward? Sorry, this is just context in terms of, I guess, relationship, maybe more so marriage, in any relationship. I think with or even sometimes women, I think women against women, when like maybe someone says something and it might offend you, and it's kind of like, okay, do you want to now keep moving in that same tangent, or do we want to pick up the fruit of the Spirit and ask Holy Spirit, be like, okay, what's self-control right now? What is gentleness right now?
True. That comes hand in hand, huh?
It does, right?
Fruit of the Spirit.
Fruit of the Spirit. God just is such a great gardener, and he's tending to our lives and our garden. Yeah. So I'd say that's my perspective in my context of life. How about yourself?
I would say for many years, I just really struggled with that because I'm not a gentle girl. Like, I mean, if you know me from outside, I mean, I'm like a girl who like plays a lot of sport and is like, I'm rough on the edges, you know what I mean? A little rough, and like even the way I speak as well. So that's something I've always really struggled with. But I think that I have really found that gentle and quiet spirit is really to trust that God will speak for you and not be... And it literally says in that verse, like, she was not fearful what her husband would do to her.
Yeah.
She didn't have a fear. She really trusted God. That's like, you know what? Like, if I am right, like, God will literally say my part. You know, I don't have to take revenge. I don't have to prove myself. And that's all it comes in trusting that it's all going to be okay, that God speaks for you. And so I used to think like, like the Bible is a little misogynistic and like it's trying to make women like not have like a voice, but that's like not what it's saying at all. But it's giving us that peace that's like, you know what, like, don't worry, God will speak for you. Just be confident and continue to do what you do. And I don't think the Bible ever puts down women and says like, you should like shut up, right? Because I mean the context of those other verses are like in historical context, but you see women like Esther, for example, she spoke up and she made a difference for a whole entire country. Like women like Deborah in the Bible, she literally like led a whole army and won a war. Like, it's crazy. So I think like the Bible does not say this to be like shutting down women. Instead, it's that, you know what, like, God will fight for you. Have a gentle spirit. Be peaceful inside, you know? Be peaceful inside. That's beautiful. Like, you don't have to fight your way through things. Be peaceful inside. And so, I'm still stepping into that, and I'm still trying to get into that and be like, you know, calm down. It's all going to be okay.
I feel like it really is a challenge, and it's a really great opportunity for God to refine us in our character.
I think it's really what's really interesting is that the Bible says that death and life are like on your tongue, right? Literally, like what you say can cut someone or it can heal someone. And I'm always conscious, only like I think only in the past 2 years as I've stepped out as a missionary that I've really thought to myself, you know, what I'm saying with my mouth can either tear down or build up, and I just really want to build. Which is what Big Sister is about, to build up other girls and women. So, I mean, I would love to keep talking for, like, 5 million hours.
It's so fun.
Let's keep this on episode 1. And it was so good. I am excited for what God's going to do next. And all that God is going to speak to us
and all the fun stuff that we can do on podcasts, on Insta.
With you guys and with each other. I'm so happy that we're here in the same country together.
For a time as this.
I know, such a time as this.
Just like connect us here in this moment. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we're going to be sharing like, you know, fun stuff as well. Makeup tips and just like fashion, beauty, all that. Yeah. Talking about it all. So
it's all about life. Everything is involved in life.
Yeah. I think like if this really spoke to you, send this to someone, you know, that you know would really benefit and be encouraged by it. I think our heart is really just to inspire women, encourage women. Yeah. Not really to, you know, I don't know, be famous or do anything like that. Like it's really just to encourage and create a community. So
yeah. Well, our details will be on the screen or down below. So go check us out on Instagram. Yeah. And then what else do they need to know? Oh, and just subscribe. And then continue on with this podcast for next week. We're hoping next week. But if not, then we will probably in a fortnight's time.
It'll come.
Yes, it will come. Watch this space. Yeah. Alrighty. Yay. I don't know how to end it. Should we do... Come on.